Hey, Nick, who's your favorite on-screen mom?
Archie Bunker.
Well, okay, Norman Bates' mom or Frank Zito's mom?
Norman Bates' mom, but Frank Zito's a close second.
Well, my favorite is Vicki Lawrence from Mama's Family, so...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mama. Happy Mother's Day, y'all.
Hey guys, it's your favorite final girl and boy, Emily and Nick, coming at you with a new episode of Gag Me with a Knife, a weekly podcast where we dissect, disembowel, and shred the best and worst slasher movies. This week we'll be scalping 1980's Maniac. As always, Emily has the back of an original VHS copy, so let's hear what the back of that box says.
Maniac provides ultimate satisfaction to even the most hardened fans of horrific gore. This hair-raising film traces the grim steps of a maniac killer as he stalks New York City streets, randomly searching for his prey. After ritually murdering and graphically scalping his victims, he takes their hair and clothes to his lair, which he shares with his grotesque collection of mannequins, which he costumes with his grisly trophies. 1980, your thoughts?
I didn't know that on my visit to New York in 1980, somebody had documented everything I did. And I want to know who did that because it's wonderful work.
What's funny is that while this whole movie was being filmed, that's when like the Central Park killer was at large, and he killed two sex workers, and they couldn't identify them, so they put their clothes on mannequins and put those pictures out to try to identify them. One of them was identified, the other one never has been. That's weird, though, considering the movie.
At the same time?
At the exact same time, yeah.
I'm glad they just turned mine into a movie.
Right, I know. So, what are, just summary, base thoughts on this movie as a whole?
I've always liked this movie. I can understand why people don't and people think it's bad, but I've always liked this movie. It's an isolating, lonely, very, very, very off-putting, unnerving movie. But I enjoy that about it.
Yeah, it's dark as hell.
It's real dark.
It's dark as fuck. So,
yeah.
It's not a normal slasher, even in the sense that, it doesn't really have all the elements of, a typical slasher anyway, but...
It's like a low-rent psychological slasher.
Yeah, and... Usually this is not the era of slashers that I like anyway, because they're a little too dark for me. But I do think this is a good movie. Will I rewatch it every week? No, but
if you're a fan of the genre, it's required viewing.
It is, yeah. You need to watch it, and I think it's really well done. It's just it's hard to watch over and over. You don't have fun with it.
There's a lot of low rent aspects of this movie, and also if you see Joey Spinell's apartment, you'll understand what I mean by low rent.
Facts. I mean, it's not even an apartment.
I don't know. I think it's a mop closet.
Yeah.
And that's not a reference to the wigs.
So, in this movie, we start out at the beach, or we start out at someone looking in those, what are they called? Those things you look through, they're binoculars, but you put a quarter in.
Yeah, it's like a Viewmaster or something, but
it's like binoculars, but for charge.
What were those things that they used to get and used to flip them, the handheld ones? Viewfinders. Yeah.
Or
kaleidoscope's the thing with the
not
trippy.
Kaleidoscopes, but they were anyway. I think it's a viewfinder, but
yeah.
So we start out where this guy's watching this couple on the beach, and then it cuts to the couple.
Well, also, okay, not only does New York have some of the most beautiful beaches on the East Coast, this couple picked the absolute fucking worst place to take a nap.
Right,
and it doesn't look warm.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming they had gotten done fucking and were camping there or something, but
terrible place to fuck.
So he's doing his heavy breathing thing. By the way,
dude, what is with the grunting? Does nobody hear this?
It sounds so much like the dude in Pieces.
Yeah.
This, and I'm get a septoplasty. I don't know what you need, but stop. But anyway, so this couple's talking on the beach. The girls wants the guy to go get some more firewood. She's gonna get cold, and
man, the firewood he brings back.
Oh, right. And so they're both killed. First, she is her is it a throat slit or stabbed or something, and then he's choked with like he's a garrote. Yeah. It's like a garroted metal or something like that. And then we see the main character Frank Zito wake up from what you believe may be a nightmare. This beach scene, it's actually not, but
it's a great dream. That's the dream I have every night.
Facts. So the next scene we see him going out, and he well, first we see two women that are clearly sex workers talking about something called the ultimate. That
see, I want to know what that is.
I do too. I want to know what.
Because whenever they break it down, they say, well, "I'll take you around the world, but for $100, I give you the ultimate."
Well, she says like just for regular, it's like 25, but like for
what is this
for
stuff?
French and regular? I was like, well, what's French and regular?
Dude, no hooker I've ever had has told me any of this stuff.
I wonder if one
of
our friends, $189. So. One of the girls is like, I just need one more trick to make my rent. And
you got a working girl. So
we see this guy that just had the nightmare from, the beach or whatever. He comes up and he's like, she starts talking to him. And he's at first he like says no. But then when she goes through all these things, like you can get a regular for 25, 50 is French and regular, 75 is around the world. And then the other girl says, don't forget the ultimate, which she had talked about earlier because some guy did the ultimate that she had never seen before. I don't know what the ultimate is. So, but she was like, oh yeah, for 100 you'll get the ultimate. So he
originally says no until somebody upsells him on sex.
Yeah. Which really goes against the plot, but that doesn't matter. Anyway,
25, nah. $100, yeah.
I'll scalp you, but whatever. Okay, so he takes her into this hotel.
Out there scalping tickets for that Punan.
This hotel was actually the same hotel that this other shit that I talked about at the beginning was happening.
Oh yeah,
too, and it was happening like while this was filming. Anyway,
Central Park Killer.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So he gets a room. He asks.
Whoa! Before he gets that room, he doesn't let the hooker break the golden rule. She tries to hold his arm, hold his hand. You never let a hooker hold your hand.
Also, he pays extra for color TV.
I do know that from my time with the ladies of the night.
But he does pay extra for color TV, which
Well, I mean,
whatever. I don't know. He wasn't going to use it, but I don't know.
Gotta get the penthouse suite.
Doesn't matter. It's bigger. That room's bigger than his house.
Yeah.
So,
pay for what you get, man.
Yeah, I know. $35, I think, in total with tax. So
it was $135 for this trick.
Yeah.
All right.
He doesn't even get whatever. I would have waited to at least get the ultimate before I did what he does. But
at least gotten a breakdown of what the ultimate was.
I guess the ultimate in his mind is different.
Don't like.
Well, he did the ultimate. What he thought the ultimate was.
Maybe he's more of an around the world kind of guy.
I mean, he didn't seem to want to go up there till he found out about the ultimate, though.
Nah, I think he always wanted to go up there.
Well, he did, but he was acting coy about it, I guess. So
he's been wondering what the inside of that building's been looking like, and it took a hooker to get him in there.
Yeah. So at first she's ready to go, but he's like,
dance
I want you
me.
to model. She says that she's a model, and he's like, well, model for me. And
dance
she's like,
me like your mother
this.
used to.
She just keeps on making poses and goes like this, like this, like this, which will be important later.
And
but
hey, it's good to note that this hooker ain't that bad looking, man.
Also, her clothes are now you can tell the 80s / late 70s are coming back in style. She looks like she's ready for an
aerobics class.
Well, I mean, they're coming back in style because that outfit, I basically have an outfit that looks like that.
Yeah, God
a
bless
leotard and whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, yoga pants, they rule.
She's wearing hot pants, short,
hot
really
pants?
short. She's wearing really short, bright purple.
Oh yeah. But doesn't she have a leotard on too?
She has a leotard on, and then she has what are those tights with the holes in them?
I don't know.
What are those called? Fishnet tights.
Oh. True hooker attire.
Yeah. So he she finally gets on top of him. They kiss a little bit, and then he gets
It looks like it's going well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, you don't think anything's, I mean, you know something bad's going to happen because you know what movie you're watching, but, you know, you don't, all of a sudden, he just looks like a crazy maniac.
Wouldn't it be funny if this movie didn't really get going until after this and he didn't kill her and he just actually had a trick? I was like, he's just that kind of guy. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody needs somebody sometimes.
Like, he kills nothing, like, he does not kill sex workers, but everyone else. So he
even gives her a tip afterwards.
Yeah. So he gets on top of her and then looks like a goddamn maniac, which is where the movie comes from, and starts strangling her and
hallucinating about his mother.
Yeah.
And his mother's kind of hot too.
She was, yeah. We never see her corpse though, do we?
Yeah,
we know. Yeah, we do. I'm sorry.
We'll get to that.
That's later. But it's also a dream. Anyway.
It's a great scene though.
It's not like Norman Bates though when you find like his mom. But
no, Norman Bates really had his mom.
Or like when you find grandma in Texas Chainsaw. Anyway.
Yeah.
So he takes her home. And
after he beds them, deads them, scalps them, and scraps them.
Yeah, someone walks by and's like, "Hey, Frank, you got Christmas shopping?" He's like, "Yeah," and he clearly has like a body in a fucking trash bag.
It's not a Christmas tree
over his shoulder because he does have a Christmas tree inside this like tiny room.
He celebrates the season.
Yeah, so he's bringing her in, and he scalped her. By the way,
yeah, $5 toupee.
After he strangled her to death, he scalped her, and it shows him like talking to himself as his mom, but then like kind of having a conversation with her, but he's like both voices.
Yeah, it's a Norman Bates
and
kind
then
of thing.
He has like but then in some scenes he has a weird country accent which doesn't make sense, but whatever. And then he takes
Joey Spinell's doing his best George Jones.
Yeah. And or like when you were doing something in Pieces and you started talking like with the Mississippi accent for no reason, but
yeah, that's how all Bostonians talk.
So
I hate Boston.
I know. So he takes the scalp and he has a mannequin. He already has a mannequin in there.
No, he's got a new one now.
But now he has a new one. Then he hammers like the scalp.
He hammers a tack into it.
Yeah.
I like that method.
So while he prepares the new mannequin, like he dresses her up.
Well, there's nothing better than running your hands through your sex mannequin's human scalp and finding a tack right there. It's so smooth.
Yeah. But so he like has this full conversation with his mom, and then he looks at the newspaper about a couple on the beach being murdered. so that wasn't a nightmare. Opposed to some people
don't call that a nightmare, Emily.
Okay, a dream.
That couple had it coming for them. That's not where you fuck.
And, well, especially not in like New York, but
the sunny beaches of New York.
So he gets his shotgun together after that, and then he
the old gun and a violin case thing.
Yeah, and he does this weird panting again, and then he says Polly want a cracker. It's some weird ass shit. Like he tells his mannequin girls he'll be right back.
Why did you make me do this?
Yeah. So he drives away hunting.
Ends up at the old Verrazano Bridge.
But he like parks near this disco club.
Yeah.
Where he sees Disco Boy and Disco Girl. That's
Tom Savini, Disco Boy.
Tom Savini is Disco Boy.
Picking up somebody else's chick.
Yeah, picking up somebody else's fucking girlfriend. But I mean, it's really her own. Like, he doesn't know that guy. Like, she should have been faithful.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I mean, who cares? Man?
So
actually, yeah, fuck that guy. That woman should be home fucking her guy.
Yeah, she shouldn't be doing it. Like, he has no like game in he has no part of this like fight. So
I didn't know picking up chicks with a boyfriend was so easy. Tom Savini showed me the way.
Well, he is hot in that movie.
He's pretty good looking. He's got the stash.
So they get in Tom Savini's car, Disco Boy, Disco Girl. Frank Zito follows them. They're like kissing.
My favorite question is when he drives her to the end of the Verrazano Bridge at that little like outlet or inlet or whatever. She goes, "Come here a lot." I was like, yeah, all the time. Yeah, this is where I hang out.
Well, then he goes, "You want to go somewhere else?" And she's like, "Where?" And he's like, "The back seat."
Yeah, smooth, man, smooth.
So they start
70s things were easy, man.
Yeah.
I guess it's 1980, so it's like the ass end of the 70s.
Yeah, but they were filming it in 79. So also, I mean, you could pick up hitchhikers
and there's no better sex. You know, we already had the beach sex, and now we're on to car fucking. Everybody knows that rules.
Yeah, especially This isn't no SUV. This is okay. So, but it probably was like a bigger Buick, I think.
It's all right,
so
yeah.
I mean, it's not tiny. So they're in the back. They're like making out, about to have sex, and Disco Girl sees Frank Zito,
who is not a disco boy.
No, in the window of the car, and she freaks out. She's like, I see somebody, and Tom Savini's kind of like, whatever, like, I thought I was gonna get
wouldn't
laid.
It be funny though if Disco Boy was like, yeah, is it cool afterwards if my boy gets some? Yeah, you do come here a lot.
Also him assuming that it's his friend.
I mean, they both have
obviously
mustaches.
my
They're
friend
both from
is
New
here.
York.
So he's like, well, whatever. They get in the front seat, and as soon as hit the light, it shows. I think the shot's really cool where the light, because it's like an old school car.
I think
where the
lot of the lighting in this works because of how grainy and weird it is, and how weirdly it's shot, and it really gets the shittiness of like. Anyone who goes to New York now, you don't get to see that anymore. Like the taxi driver stuff of how New York looked like run down.
Yeah, when it was like you didn't go there unless you wanted to get murdered, basically.
I think this movie does a good job of making New York look gritty. I like it a lot. The lighting is even if you think the lighting's bad, it looks good.
Back then, but yeah. So what happens is he turns on the lights on his car, which it's those old lights that like rotate up, you know.
Those used to be cool, man.
Yeah, they are. Well, they're still cool.
Dude, I remember when I was a kid seeing somebody with one of those.
I think that's cool as fuck. Cool. I want that on my car.
Until one of them breaks.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Little separate, useless motor.
I never had that, so.
Never say never.
And as soon as I will say never, but as soon as the lights come on, the lights shine onto Frank Zito with his shotgun, and he starts running at them, but then it turns into like slow-mo.
This is so awesome.
It's a really cool
Classic
scene,
Savini.
like cool shot.
Classic Savini.
So he jumps onto the hood of the car in slow-mo and just blast Tom Savini's head off.
Disco boy no more.
And I'll tell you the story about the body they used for this scene later, but the blood goes all over Disco Girl, and then we see Frank Zito come in to the side of the car, and he shoots her off screen.
It's kind of slow though, like, you know, he gives her for a second like the thought that she might make it out or whatever, and then he puts the gun in her face. And also it doesn't show him scalping her, but you assume he does. It just cuts back to his apartment, and it's time to fuck a mannequin.
Well, first, and he's watching the newscast about the killings that had just occurred with Disco Boy and Disco Girl, and that they're forming like a special police task force for finding the killer. Yeah,
we'll see them later.
Yeah, I know, and that's a hilarious scene. But he turns off the TV, and then he has another conversation with his mom. Fake mom, dead mom. Like he's both voices.
Stuff. Why you make me do this?
Yeah, he's like, you can't go. It's when you go out, you can't go out. Like, because if you go out, you gotta do it again. And every time you go out,
beauty is punishable by death.
So then he lays back in bed then, and he starts brushing his greasy ass hair.
It kind of makes it look good.
Ugh. Gross. That made me want to vomit. Between that and his pock marks, I was like, like gross. So then he talks to the mannequin.
All this is how my room looks. The boneyard. We've talked about this.
So he talks.
And you can ask one of the two people who have been in there.
I thought they were dead.
No, they're both still alive. Just one of them doesn't talk to me anymore.
That's not true. Okay.
Yeah.
So he talks to the mannequin in handcuffs. It's Disco Girl, so she was scalped.
Yeah.
And then I wrote in my notes, I was like, where is he getting these mannequins, by the way? Because I was like, I guess he steals them.
He's got a guy.
But it's never really like talked about in the news or anything that like mannequins are being stolen or anything. So
them shits get thrown out all the time. New York City.
I don't know,
just
but
walk
like
through the Garment District.
It seems like something would have been said, but the remake does address that, but that doesn't really matter. So in the next scene, we are at the park.
Spoiler.
Sorry. And that's not a spoiler to say that they explain how he gets the mannequins.
No, I've never seen it.
But that's not really a spoiler. That's just like...
I didn't know that they explained
Yeah, you
that.
did. I told you earlier. But anyway...
They don't need to know this.
So, whatever. I don't think anyone... Okay. That's like... I mean, if you watch this movie, you spoil the remake. So, I mean...
It follows a similar plot.
Yeah, oddly enough. Yeah. So now we're at the park. These moms are talking, and they're
lousy fucking parents.
Yeah, they're really, really terrible parents because one of them is like, Susie, get off. I don't know what her name is, but she's like, stop doing that or something. But then goes right back to talking to the mom, and
gabbing away.
The little boy she's on the swings with is like, let's go on our bikes. And she's like, my mom said I'm not supposed to. He's like, who cares?
Fuck that. See,
so they're like, leave.
That's a little disco boy in training.
Right. So, as soon as it cuts to like her the little girl riding her bike, and Frank Zito like runs into her, and he said, he says something to her. He's like,
he tells her to be careful. Or
something like that. And
I'll kill you in 20 years.
Yeah. In the meantime, a photo is being taken of him
by Carolyn Monroe, the sci-fi starlet herself in a slasher.
In this movie, her name is Anna, but there's
the golden voyage of Sinbad,
woman,
baby.
Like from across the way. Like
Sinbad done sin good on her.
That's true, but she's pretty far away.
Yeah.
But he notices she's taking a picture, so he kind of like. She walks away, but she leaves her bag there, so he like walks up and looks at.
As you do in New York.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, back then. So I guess she was just going a little bit of ways. Whatever. He looks at the bag though, and it has her name and her address on it. So, then he goes and he like creepily looks at mannequins and store windows, and he pants and whines. And I'm just like,
he grunts.
He grunts, but sometimes he whines, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Oh,
like,
it gets worse later with the mommy stuff.
Fucking mama's boy.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, so after this scene, we are at a hospital. These two random nurses are walking out together. One of them, her boyfriend is picking her up, and she's telling the other one like she can give her a ride because they're talking about these killings and how like they hope they catch him soon.
And it's also 3 years after Son of Sam, so it's like, I'll be fine.
Right. And whatever, this is what annoys me so much, because they're talking about how like they're scared of this like guy and they hope they catch him soon, but then when the girl like is like,
over at the Verrazano Bridge, we in Manhattan now.
But they're like,
it's all the way over in Brooklyn.
But they're like, the girl's like, well, we can give you a ride home, and the other nurse is like, no. And I'm like, well, if there's a killer on the loose and you're so afraid, then
also if you're in New York and somebody offers you a ride, fucking take it.
Well, not anyone, but like your friend.
Your friend, yeah.
Like,
fucking take that shit.
So
it takes a minute to get around New York.
So that's dumb. So the nurse that is left after the other one leaves, she grabs a newspaper, and on the front page is a story about the murders, and
the ones that we were just talking about.
Yeah, and Frank is across the street looking at her. So I don't think she sees him. She doesn't see him though.
Even if she does, that couldn't be him.
But at some point before that, she said, if something happens, like I'll splurge and get a taxi. Well, she sure as shit doesn't, because she starts walking to the subway.
Who the fuck's she waiting on?
She's not waiting on anyway. She just starts walking to the subway. She should have been trying to get a fucking cab, but whatever. So
on a nurse's salary, shit.
Well, she said she made a comment and said she would splurge and get a taxi, and then she didn't. So her fault, really.
This is completely her fault.
Frank follows her. When she's walking, she's kind of nervous. She doesn't really know anyone's following her yet, until she gets to the down the stairs in the subway, and then she starts getting real nervous, and when she's about to go through the turnstile,
she
drops all of her
obviously
quarters.
doesn't know how a subway station in New York works. I don't know how long she's been working at that hospital or in New York City at all, but also she doesn't know how it works, and I guess she has some spare tokens, but man, she leaves Frank plenty to get right back in.
I know, that's what I was about to say. Why I said she was nervous is because she drops like all of those because she's like trying to get him out.
Do you think Frank used just one and like kept the other ones for later trips?
I mean, I would have.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, like, hell yeah, dude, subway tokens.
I mean, yeah, I get like this scalp plus all these like, I think they were probably quarters at the time, not tokens.
That's not how it works.
Well, you don't know how it worked back in 1979.
This is a documentary on my visit to New York City in 1980.
I forgot 1979, but I forgot. So so she ends up getting her quarter or whatever token, whatever, just in time to get through the turnstile. But she drops all these quarters, and then this is when the chase begins, kind of. And if anyone's listened to this podcast at all, you know that I do not like a long chase scene. They get on my fucking nerves. This chase scene goes on in a hole for 5 fucking minutes. And some of it isn't suspenseful. It's just annoying.
I do like how there's one part where she's like, the train. First of all, whenever
she gets through and she misses the subway for by 5 seconds, no one will open a goddamn door for her.
The way it works up there is the train doors aren't just locked while it's sitting there. That's a really, really fast ordeal, and that never happens. But when that train pulls away, there's people on the other platform across, and like she doesn't. I mean, there are people there. Just not.
Are there? I didn't see them.
And she doesn't scream for them at all or anything like that.
I didn't see people.
And I guess that plays up that whole thing of like New York, which most people think, you mess with one New Yorker, you mess with them all. But there's also the thing of alone in a crowd. It's like, yeah, they don't give a shit. They've seen this like Maniac run around plenty of times. That
story about Kitty. It's like that famous story about the girl that got stabbed and like everyone heard her getting stabbed to death and no one called the cops. Yeah.
Well, it's like the beginning scene of this movie. That beach was full.
Like the whole thing. The study was like the whole thing was about how like someone always thinks someone else is going to help. Mm-hmm. And then no one ends up helping.
Well, it's like the beginning scene of the movie. That beach was full. They didn't film it or whatever, but all the other New Yorkers looked over. It's like, yeah, that's what you get for messing with a maniac.
They are behind like a little crevice, but no. So anyway, yeah, the subway leaves her. Then, so she hides in the bathroom, and he walks in moaning, still looking for her, moaning and whining, panting, whatever the fuck he's.
Well, this actress in this scene, whenever he's going stall to stall, it's very funny to me because this is the only funny part of the movie I found, because she's really trying to act like she's scared, but every time it cuts to the stall, it looks like she's taking a shit, and it's like maybe a bad time for that.
It also kind of gave me Giallo feels.
What's
scene,
that?
I don't.
The Italian. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's because some of this movie looks a little dubbed, but this looks like a scene that would be in a Giallo. Anyway,
well, after she's done dropping a deuce,
so she hears the door and assumes that this guy's left, but immediately starts making all this noise, like breathing.
Yeah, she's celebrating at the sink.
Yeah, but before that, when she's still in the stall, she's like, "Oh, whoa!" I'm like,
she just dropped one,
but you shouldn't assume
in the men's room.
You should not assume that he like. If you really thought a killer was after you, don't just assume he fucking left, like, immediately.
Also, if he would have killed her in the men's room, it would have been justified because that's clearly labeled men's.
True.
No, seriously.
I mean, back in the
day,
yeah.
That's what dudes do. When we find a girl in the men's room,
you murder them.
Yeah.
So,
you guys should know the rules.
So she's making noises of relief. She goes to leave the bathroom. Should have stayed longer in the bathroom.
Yeah, girls usually don't have a problem with that.
She literally hears the door close and is immediately like, okay, I'm good to walk out now. Like, what the fuck?
Hell yeah.
So then she starts, like, washing her face, and then she starts laughing, like, oh, I really, like, got out of that one. Well, no, she fucking didn't. She was a little too fucking fast on that laugh.
Yeah. Frank didn't think that was that funny.
She looks up and he's behind her, stabs her in the back.
With a bayonet.
Washes his knife.
A dull blade.
And I'm assuming, I'm not assuming, he scalps her because she has blonde hair. Mm-hmm. Because in the next scene, he's back home talking to his mom. And when I say talking to his mom every time, it's him talking to his mom and talking back in her voice, whatever. But they're talking about how, he has to be careful because blood got all up in her blonde hair. And it is stained the color of Kool-Aid. I don't think that's the color that it would be with blood stained. Anyway, it's red Kool-Aid blood stained scalp that he's tacking onto a mannequin.
$5 toupee, man.
So, it cuts to Anna, the girl that was taking pictures of him at the park.
Carolyn Monroe.
I'm sorry, took one picture of him at the park. And she's in her dark room and the doorbell rings. It's Frank. And he's just like, you took a picture of me in the park.
Man.
So she's like, lets him in.
Yeah, that's how I get all my dates.
So he wants to see her work. And then there's like the only, I guess, like philosophical conversation that they have, like, to give any meaning to what he's doing in this movie. Because he says, first he says, how come all your models are women? And then they discuss that, like, he doesn't understand. She's an artist, so she sells photos, and he's like, I would never sell my photos because
go to jail.
The pictures are to preserve beauty, and
beauty is punishable by death.
And he says things change, people die, but in a painting or a picture, they're yours forever. Also, he's told her he's a painter, which is a lie. And then she says, there's no way you can possess someone forever. Okay. So he goes on to discuss that in a particular picture, the photographs had this woman the way he wanted. There's this old woman picture.
Yeah.
And that the photographer had her the way he wanted her. And from that picture, she can never grow old or die. And he,
some spank bank material.
To be honest, he's like, actually, besides the fact that he's hideous and he's disgusting looking, and he always looks like he's like sweating profusely. He's a pretty charming guy when he's not murdering people.
He can turn it on.
Yeah. So but he is really ugly. So I don't understand why.
Carolyn Monroe would never go on a date with this guy.
But she immediately likes him so much. And because, I'm like,
all girls like whenever a stranger from the park knocks on their door.
And says, you took a picture of me at the park.
Dude, that's how you woo them.
So,
guys out there, that's what you do.
I was guessing maybe it's because he said he was a painter. So they're like both artists or something.
Kind of is.
I don't know, whatever. So,
he's got some art going on in his apartment. I don't know if it's the art that he'd be interested in, but he's got something going on.
Yeah,
he's working on shit.
Mm-hmm. He definitely is. So he asks her to dinner, and
he's working harder than she is.
He asks, he asks her if she had ever been to this clam restaurant or something. I don't know.
What is it? The clam bake?
It's clam. It's a clam something.
The clam slam. Clam jam.
So and she's like, "Are you asking me to dinner?" And he's like. And he goes, "You talking to me?"
Yeah.
Okay.
Ironically, he wasn't Taxi Driver.
What the fuck? Like, I was ready for him to say, forget about it, but like, whatever.
To New York.
I just rolled my eyes, but she wants to go. Give her 5 minutes. 5 minutes. She'll go.
No, that's later. That's the second date.
No, the second time is 10 minutes.
Okay.
She says, give me 5 minutes.
Okay.
So she is ready to go to dinner. Like, I mean, she doesn't know this guy from fucking Adam.
She's falling out of her seat to fucking to go on a date with this piece of shit.
Yeah,
this pockmarked beauty.
So then at dinner, he says, "You're the most beautiful woman I've seen since my mom." Red flag.
Again, that's what you do.
Ew.
You never had that said to you? I can tell you've never been in love.
No, that's disgusting. Anyway,
hey, no. That's what you do.
I've dated plenty of mama's boys.
You take a girl to a really weird seafood restaurant in Brooklyn, and you start talking about your mom and comparing them. That's what I did with every one of my girlfriends.
Well, anyway,
I don't even live in Brooklyn, but I was like, hey, you want to go on a date? It's going to be like a 17-hour drive, but it's going to be worth it.
at Clam Bake Central. I don't even know if it exists anymore.
Called the Clam Jam in Staten Island. We got to go.
And then I'm going to talk about my mom the whole time. Yes. So then he explains that she was very beautiful, but she died in a car accident when he was younger.
Yeah, he wasn't into that.
No, but she does want to see a picture of her. He shows her. She says she was pretty, but then she tells him, I don't know why she just throws this name out. And so she tells him Rita's coming over to model, and it's an early night, so she needs to get back home. By the way, Rita's not the only person coming over, but
no, they got a full-fledged girl group.
She doesn't give a fuck about the two other girls. But anyway, she says that he can hang out the next day, but especially like will he come to her show on Thursday that she's having?
That's another thing. He can hang out the next day. That date didn't look like it was going that fucking great.
No, she loves him though.
Carolyn
Monroe.
Yes.
Okay, but her name's Anna in the movie. Okay.
Well, her name's Carolyn to me, baby.
It cuts to her photo shoot, and it is not just Rita, but two other models, as well as this guy that's
just getting drunk and being
he's
a
in
dick.
charge of something there, I guess. Something
in the photo. Well, I think he's in charge of the bar, but he's not a good bartender.
He's in charge. I think he's in charge of like what they're wearing, because he's like, and like their makeup, because he's like, who did their makeup, and she needs to take her necklace off and blah. So
no, that guy sucks.
So this is the same night as the clam jam, dinner, but Frank fucking walks in with a gift, and it's a goddamn teddy bear. Weird.
I feel like that's an old thing. It used to be a thing. You get some girl some stuffed animal.
In the same night that she said it's an early night, we just went to the clam jam, and you talk about your mom being as pretty as me, and now you're going to come over and bring a bear.
At least he didn't bring a mannequin.
That's true, but I mean, like...
Check this shit out.
So, at this point, also, that other guy that was like, why didn't you have someone do their makeup? Why did you let them do that themselves? Rita, take off your necklace. So
the only person in this movie that deserves to be killed.
So, who? Rita or the guy?
No. The dude drinking while they're going, these models are $100 an hour.
Oh, I guess he does kill men because he kills the guy at the beginning. Anyway, but
he kills Disco Boy.
And Disco Boy, but only really to get to the girls. So, anyway,
Disco Boy was a side piece.
Rita takes her necklace off, and Frank, while she's modeling, Frank steals it. So the next thing we see Rita going home. This is the only time we see a first person POV killer shot, and it's in her home, but he wasn't in her home, so I don't know how they got like that shot. Anyway, so Rita starts a bath and she hears the doorbell. It's Frank outside to return the necklace.
And still, she's not creeped out by this.
Well, she thinks he's returning the necklace.
How does he know where she lives? I know he followed her.
Because I think he asked Anna. Probably.
Well, Anna's a shitty friend.
Well, yeah. Also, Anna went on a date with him after like 5 seconds of knowing him.
Oh,
so
here's where all my friends live.
Yeah. So,
I just love that guy you met in the park.
So anyway, he does something when he's talking to her with the door, so he can get back in. He does something with the lock, so like when she shuts the door, like it won't lock.
That's what I do.
Yeah, me too. And so Rita returns to her bath scene.
And also, I know you do. You got to stop doing that shit at my house. My stuff's missing, and I want it back.
I thought in the last podcast I had never seen any of your house because I'd never been there.
You've never seen the boneyard.
No, we talked about like I'd never seen any of your house.
Well, after this movie, you've seen it.
So
pretty much the operation I got going down at my place.
Yeah. I've caused him to get so much shit stolen. All those bones.
Both of them.
I know. That's what I was thinking. So this is where we have the only nude scene in the movie.
Bush bath, man.
Yeah, full frontal. She's getting in the bath.
Couldn't even get that hot hooker naked.
She takes a full bath. I mean, he gives her, like, at least he gives her that. She gets to have her full relaxing
bath. She has an Epsom
bath.
salt bath, too.
Yeah, she has a full relaxing bath, with bubbles and everything. When she gets out, she has a robe on. Frank attacks her, but with a ski mask on, which doesn't make any sense when we get to the next scene, because it wouldn't have mattered. Why do you need that ski mask?
By the next scene, do you mean a Tuesday night in Nick Longmire's bedroom?
Yes. Yes. So the next scene is Rita is gagged and like bound to her bed, and Frank is talking to her as if he's hallucinating that she is his mom.
Clearly, you've never dated a normal guy. This is just how things go.
I guess I'd rather be single.
This bedside banter is what me and we in the biz refer to as foreplay.
So he talks to her for a little bit, but then he finally stabs her in the chest and scalps her, and then he says, "Tonight you stay home."
I mean, that's how you keep them.
So now he's at home.
No. He humps mommy before that. He stabs her, and he gets on her.
Oh, yeah. Well, he does the whole mommy.
And then he's humping mommy. He's calling her mommy as she's dying, and I think the last scene of her face is like a tear rolling down as she's dead.
Because she is mommy, then.
Yeah, gotta hump mommy on a Tuesday.
Mommy, it's Mother's Day, so...
Archie Bunker.
So now we're at his... Okay, I'm going to start putting the word house in quotes or apartment in quotes, because it's like it looks like, a closet or a storage room. with a bed in it and a TV.
Yeah, Frank, you can have the mop closet. It's okay. Don't worry about the rent. Just pay the power.
So he's at home and he starts playing this music box. And he gets a small, not a shotgun, but a smaller gun out and starts shooting a target.
It's a Daisy pellet gun.
Oh, it is? Okay.
I used to have one of those.
Well, he's shooting at this target, which is a photo of a woman with like an X on it. And then while he does that, he just like whimpers like a little bitch.
Well, he's got a music box going too, and dude, his little ray gun before that, his little like ray gun. And he's got that hat on. Dude, this is why it's my room. This is what I do. I sit in a weird hat and I fire my little ray guns and I cry.
Well, and then you brush your fucking greasy ass hair.
Yeah.
They like sticks to your head. Okay, so anyway, next scene.
Looking good.
Joe, I called him Joe because that's the guy that's the actor. Sorry, Frank calls
Joey Spinell.
Frank calls Anna to see a movie, and he's like, "Okay, 20 minutes." She's like, "Make it 10."
Yeah, I'll see you in 10 minutes. No, in New York, no fucking way. And that phone booth he was calling her from was clearly not in Manhattan, and it is going to take you much, much longer than 10 minutes to even get over there and get off the subway or even drive over there. This is all bullshit.
Yeah, and on top of that, let's just go back to the fact that she's so fucking eager. Like,
yeah, I don't know why she's going on a second date with this dude.
Isn't it like a rule anyway for a girl not to act too eager anyway? Because like guys don't like that. But like on top of that, like, I just don't get why she's like, oh no, make it 10. I'm ready to go. So
yeah, she's pretty eager to go out with this pockmarked, pot-bellied idiot.
Yeah. So on the way, they're talking about
New York, ladies and gentlemen.
On the way to the movie, she's like thanking him. Apparently, he went to Rita's funeral, and she's like, she didn't have many friends.
That's
He's
the
like,
least
whatever.
He could do.
So he then he tells her he wants to stop at the cemetery to put a wreath on his mom's grave.
Great date spot. Actually, it is a good date spot until you do it Frank style.
Right. So
I've taken chicks to graveyards, and I
don't think it's a horrible idea.
No,
I mean, I think
it's what you do when you're young.
I mean, I think a cemetery is like one thing, but like going to visit your dead mother might be a little bit different. But
go get a 12-pack and run around.
Yeah, but not to go see your dead mother. Anyway,
no. Like I said, don't do it like Frank.
Yeah. So Anna goes with. He starts crying. So they get to the grave, and he starts crying, and he's like, "My head hurts." Which the whole head hurting thing, that's a lot more in the remake too. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. It's also ironic of the way he died, the actor.
And oh my god, yeah. So he tells then like while he's like crying and saying his head hurts, he's like, Anna knew, or not Anna knew. I'm sorry, Rita knew. Rita knew. So she puts it together that he's killed Rita. I don't know how she put it together from just that, but
that's probably getting choked by him.
Well, she kind of started putting it together before he like grabs her, before he kind of attacks her. So, but she gets away and runs. Now this chase scene, thank God, only lasts 1 minute. I timed both of those chase scenes. So Anna,
it's actually a pretty good scene.
Yeah, it is. It's through a graveyard. It's fairly well. It's lit well enough to you can see what's going on. So it ends with Anna hitting him with a shovel.
You know, whenever she was hiding behind that gravestone, I'm glad she had time to sharpen this fucking shovel to a razor.
I know. So she attacked, like, he comes up and she, like, stabs him in the side with this shovel and he falls down. And she gets away. And, he, like, stumbles back to his mother's grave after hearing her. Now
this scene is fucking awesome.
Now in this part, he's actually hearing his mom's voice because now, see, at the beginning we saw him without a shirt on. I forgot to talk about this, where he had like old, like clearly old, like cigarette burn marks on his chest and shit. Yeah. But now we're hearing her actual voice and his actual voice as a kid, and she's like locking him in the closet and shit like that.
Well, also, I like how he stumbled back to his apartment, and it's like, New York, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody noticed that from whatever graveyard he was in to like miles back to his apartment, just stumbling around with a bloody arm.
Well, he did have a car, so but what he stumbles to his mom's grave, and So he like lays down on the ground in front of the tombstone, and this zombie mom,
classic hand coming up through the ground and grabbing the throat,
and then you see like the head too, but it's all like all blue and stuff. I don't know.
It's so good, and you can tell there's somebody really in there in the makeup because it moves its mouth, and you can see the lips moving over the teeth, and it's really good. Yeah.
So she grabs him, but it was clearly
best effect in the movie besides Tom Savini exploding head.
Yeah, but then that disappears because it was a delusion, and then he just lays there crying on the ground in front of the tombstone. So then he gets home wounded.
Dude, when he shuts his door, there's a plaster cast of like half a face and an open mouth.
Oh yeah.
And mind you, I want that thing, not for any kind of weird reasons, but that is a really, really cool. It's like almost like a door knocker, just like weird, but like it's a really cool thing to be hanging on the door.
Yeah, actually I noticed that too, but
and also, I noticed his bloody wig mannequins, by this time, because he's got a collection, they kind of look new wave punk.
Yeah, no, they do.
No,
I mean, they're like set around a dinner table, but so when he gets home, he has a delusion of his mother as her young self reaching for him. I don't know if she says it or if he says, "You betrayed me." Someone says, "You betrayed me."
Yeah, I can't remember.
Then he like lays, she's disappeared because that wasn't real. And he's laid down in the bed and he's like, we think mortally wounded, I guess. But he's looking at all the mannequins. He's whimpering and he's like, "Oh, mommy, it hurts."
Yeah.
All the mannequins start coming alive and saying, I guess, what they last said. You know this, especially with the sex worker, excuse me, because she's saying like this. Like this, like this.
Dance for me like your mother used to.
So they start like grabbing the weapons that were used to kill them, except for the shotgun, and like stabbing him. They cut his arm off, and then it just looks like they're like tearing him apart because they literally tear his head off of his body.
And another classic Savini effect.
Yeah, that scene's good.
Doesn't look as good as the other things, but it is good.
So the scene ends with them like all around him. And then it cuts to, I guess, the next morning. And I'm assuming Anna has, gotten away and told the police. And so these two guys, the two police officers show up.
Those fucking low rent Starsky and Hutch wake up the entire fucking neighborhood, man.
So they show up to Frank's apartment and bust in. All the mannequins are there, like in their places that they were before, like this delusion. I guess, this delusion at the end or of the last scene.
Yeah.
And they see that they think he's dead with a knife in his stomach.
Yeah, apparently he had a nightmare and killed himself.
They just leave.
Well, that's good detective work.
They just walk out.
Yeah.
Like, they don't make sure he's dead.
Plainclothes cops, ladies and gentlemen.
And then the movie ends on Frank's eyes opening. And the movie's over.
Yeah. It's a weird ending, but it's good.
I'm gonna go through.
I have two new titles for this movie: Nick Longmire Does New York or Nick Longmire Takes Manhattan. So you pick.
I think Nick Longmire, the Central Park Killer, would be more.
That's a little on the nose.
But so I'm gonna quickly go through the body count before I do the fun facts.
Yeah.
So there are 8 deaths if you don't include Frank, because we really don't know if he was alive or dead at the end. Or
maybe the low rent Starsky and Hutch was just a dream too.
1 and 2 are Eloise and Arnold, which are apparently the names of the people on the beach. I don't know how they got names and
Eloise?
No one else. Yeah.
Oh. Fancy.
So then number 3 is the sex worker that gets strangled and scalped. Number 4 is Disco Boy, shot in the head.
Tom Savini.
Number 5 is Disco Girl, shot off screen, then scalped. Number 6 is the nurse, stabbed through the back with a
bayonet.
Yeah, and then scalped. 7 is Rita. She stabbed in the stomach and then scalped, or the chest area.
And humped as mommy.
Humped to death afterwards. Number 8.
Humped away into that quiet night.
Number 8, like, if you want to count her, Carmen Zito, who died of a car crash, but that's like before the movie. So it's really like 7 that happened during the movie.
Yeah. And
then like maybe 8 if it's Frank, and if you count the mom, and then maybe not, I don't know. So, first of all, so the budget was, well, I'll go into that in a second because it's a whole thing. So Joey Spinell, who played Frank, he co-wrote, produced, and
yeah, I didn't know that. That's
and
crazy.
was the lead actor in the movie. The special effects were done by Tom Savini and an uncredited Rob Bottin.
Yeah, I think is how
he did.
prefers it.
He did The Thing and the Fog, Humanoids from the Deep. So Savini was known to has been known to have said that he thinks that he might have gone a little too far
with Maniac,
with the gore in this movie. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So the dummy used for the exploding head scene for Disco Boy was the same as the dummy from Dawn of the Dead with the exploding head. Its nickname was Boris, and they retired him after being used in this movie, as well as the car that was shot through in the movie. So they locked the dummy in the trunk of the car and sunk it in the East River. So I hope it's still there.
Yeah, there's a what do you call that? There's a little treasure buried in the East River you can go get.
I would love that.
Go scuba diving and get that damn mannequin.
So the budget of the movie was
I need to fuck that thing.
Was $350,000, and it made about $10 million.
No shit.
Yeah. There was a lot of rogue filmmaking, as they didn't always have necessary permits to film. So the infamous shotgun through the windshield scene and others had to be filmed quickly, and cast and crew had to run away before the cops came.
Yeah.
Minor roles were given to porno actresses to keep costs down. Not
Joey Spinell was married to an adult actress.
Was he?
Yeah, in the 70s.
So, at the end of the movie, there is a headless corpse around the bed, and that is the same corpse from Friday the 13th. It's Betsy Palmer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pamela Voorhees.
Yeah.
Is that her name? Yeah.
And the helicopter shots are recycled footage from the movie Inferno.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that might give it like the Jell-O feel as well. Gene Siskel, who is a fucking pussy, by the way. I guess he's dead now, but whatever.
Hey, what's wrong with old Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert?
Both of them fucking hated all 80s slashers and just lumped them all together. And they were big old fucking pussies about every horror movie in the 80s. So he walked out after...
There.
No, I'm not.
No.
Watch a compilation of them talking shit. It's bullshit. Anyway,
I've watched a bunch of that. I used to watch that.
They did like Dawn of the Dead, but anyway, whatever. So he walked out after the shotgun head explosion because he's a pussy. And so okay, with the budget, it ended up being $350,000, but it was originally $48,000. $6,000 of that came from the $10,000 Spinell had made from cruising.
Yeah.
And was put into that money was put into a stock market.
Love that movie.
That money was put into a stock market account and grew to $135,000 before they made the movie.
Playing the stocks there, Joey.
Yeah. Then the producer Judd Hamilton gave the rest to make it $200,000.
Judd Hamilton, who was also married to Carolyn Monroe.
But that was the caveat. Is that he would give them the rest of the money for the movie as long as his wife was cast as the lead actress.
Okay.
Originally, when the movie came out, kiosks were like in front of theaters, or I think right before it came out, kiosks were put in front of theaters.
Yeah.
In New York, with some of the gorier scenes, like you would look at it and be like a gorier scene. But after Siskel had his little temper tantrum about it, they took him away. So
okay, that's not cool.
So this movie also, much like Dawn of the Dead, was never submitted to the MPAA because they knew that it would get an X rating. And much like Dawn of the Dead and the way that Romero thought about, because of all the gore, they didn't even try. And they knew an X rating was stigmatized as being like a porno. And so having a film just be unrated was much easier to... You can put that through, and it doesn't have that X rating stigma, so they just didn't even submit it. They wanted Dario Argento, which is funny because they used scenes from Inferno, but they wanted him to co-produce and for Goblin to do the score.
That would have been awesome.
But their second choice was Jay Chataway, and he did do the score, which is actually reminiscent a little bit of Goblin. So the LA Times refused to run ads for the movie because they were also disgusted by it. It was filmed over consecutive 26 days in late 1979, 1980. And it was going to have a sequel, but Joe Spinell suddenly passed away in 1989, which we were going to go into that real quick because his death was fucked. So he died in his apartment located in New York on January 13th, 1989 at the age of 52. Sometime during that morning, he cut himself badly on his glass shower stall door after apparently slipping in the bathtub while showering. Soon afterwards, he fell asleep on his living room couch, and instead of calling for help, his hemophilia caused him to bleed to death. His body was found by his friend Vincent Gabriel, something. He phoned Spinell that evening after a woman who knew Vincent called and said Spinell did not get his groceries or something like that.
No, he didn't show up to the noodle factory.
However, when he got there about 20 minutes after the call, Spinell did not answer the door. Then he called the building superintendent, who said he didn't have a key, so they had to call 911. The ambulance workers entered the apartment through the fire escape. How many people did it take
to get his door down?
I know. Where they found Spinell sitting on a white sheet draped over the couch, having bled over part of the couch from an apparent deep cut in the back of the head. So,
God damn. Rest in peace, Joey Spinell. Also, so Joey Spinell was in all kinds of movies. He was in the Godfather Part 1 and 2. He was in Rocky 1 and 2. He was in Cruising. He was in Taxi Driver. He was in one of my favorite movies that was made by the Elfman brothers and had Hervé Villechaize and all kinds of people in it called Forbidden Zone. It's a weird, bizarre musical. He was in William Peter Blatty's Ninth Configuration. He was in that weird mob comedy film, Married to the Mob. And he was in the TV series of 3 episodes of it that I used to watch reruns when I was a kid. It's a Canadian show, but it got released in America called Night Heat. It was like a cop drama. And Carolyn Monroe cut a 45 in the 70s. I think maybe, it was like early 70s with Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton, and Ginger Baker, who are cream. And then in the, I think in the late 70s, early 80s, she did one with Gary Newman. And she was also in some of my favorite movies besides this one.
Did you listen to him?
I have not. I didn't know this until like recently. But I love her in the movie like The Abominable Dr. Phibes.
We should listen to them in between our recordings.
And she was in The Abominable Dr. Phibes, which I love, with Vincent Price. She was in The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, which is a Ray Harryhausen movie, which is awesome. She was in a bunch of those Hammer, like Dracula AD and all that stuff or whatever. And she was in that Woody Allen movie, Peter Sellers movie, Casino Royale, the spoof on James Bond movies.
Woody Allen.
I know. But I mean, Peter Sellers is amazing. Yeah. Like, separate the art from the artist, and that's a hard one. I don't
really like his movies though either. Though so.
That's a completely different subject.
Anyway,
Casino Royale was not his movie. He didn't direct that.
Yeah, I know.
He was just in it. But no, she's been in so much stuff, and these 2 actors who are basically the main actors of the movie are really, really kind of heavy hitters. They're just like in weird circles.
Yeah, well, they're in a bunch of shit, and you don't really realize it.
Exactly.
I guess.
Carolyn Monroe is like uncredited in a lot of stuff.
He's very much he was very much a character actor in this the 70s. But so I'm going to give my rating.
Okay.
And my rating is a 3.75 out of 5. Now I give this because I think the gore is worth at least 2 stars. I don't think the rewatchability is great on this movie.
It's not for everybody.
I'm like, it's not like something I would put on the background in a party. I give it a 0.5 for that. It doesn't have any fun camaraderie, which I really love in movies, and it's not so bad it's good. So
it's
like,
isolating and lonely.
It doesn't give any. It's not fun.
It's very dark.
The acting is it's good. So I give it 1 for that. Is it actually a good movie? Yeah. So I gave it a 3.5, and I added 0.25 for the music and cinematography, so it ends up with a 3.75 out of 5. Now, I will again say that it isn't a fun movie, and it's not really rewatchable, except for every once in a while if you want to if you're like wanting to watch a dark ass movie with like a friend that likes horror, yes. But this isn't like, put this on in the background at a party.
If you like slashers, this is like one of the early proto slashers. It's of the genre. It's part of it. No, it's not as early as some, but
it's not even as early as like The Slasher, which is which it's not The Slasher, but like Halloween.
With your rating, I give it even though my rating system is a little different, I give it 3 thumbs up.
You have to give it out of stars.
All right, 3 stars.
A 3 out of 5.
If that's what gets you off, girl.
It's not what gets me off. It's just how we do the show.
Listen to her.
So, in conclusion, stay gagged on some mannequins.
Scalps.
Stay gagged on
Carolyn Monroe.
Stay gagged on some
and Joey Spinell's Big Stromboli.
On the
stay
gagged on the Clam Slam or whatever the fuck that place is. Clam Jam Slam.
Take a girl there, even if you live in Tennessee. 17 hours, you're there, man. It's nothing.
And stay gagged on all of our social media, Instagram, TikTok. Gag Me with a Knife
shirts.
Gag Me with a Knife podcast, and our website, gagmewithaknifepodcast.com. You can buy our merch and find different ways to listen to us. We're on all podcast platforms and YouTube, and I guess you've already figured that out because you're listening to it. So see you later, and happy fucking Mother's Day.
Ooh.
Oh, Mommy, I hurt.
Mommy.